Hi, everybody. So last talk, oh my gosh, I have to follow Lexi, that's funny. So how many of you feel like you are one of the only ones at work? Like maybe you work in an organization where there's a lot of men and you look around and there's not many people that look like you. Okay, so today is about breaking through as one of the few. So I'm going to talk about how you can use this as an advantage. So this is me on a good day. And what I want to do, my goal in the world is to help people connect better, help them connect organically. As you see, I am from the US, I'm from Chicago. I've been different in a lot of places in my life. And like I said, my big thing is to help people lead better, to help organizations connect better. I run a talk called Leading Below the Surface, and it really all starts with leadership. I was in some conversations about this last night. It's not something you can do by yourself, but you can change your inner soul to be able to navigate better in your own workplace. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So this is a picture of my grandma. You can probably see her. She's very light-skinned. And she is my inspiration in my life. My grandma took my mother, my aunt, and my uncle on a bus to the northern part of the United States because my mother did not want to drink from a colored drinking fountain. So if you don't know much about American history, just to remind you, black people had to do things separately. They had to go to separate schools. They had to drink from separate water fountains. They had to eat at separate restaurants. And so when my mom was growing up, she said, I'm not doing this. And so my grandma put them all on a train, and she took them to Des Moines, Iowa. They didn't eat for days. And she has always been the inspiration of my life. As a kid, I was different. I kind of stuck out, like some of you may have in tech. And every single time that someone would criticize me for the way I looked or what I was doing, my grandma would always tell me how beautiful I was. And she would always stand up for me to the point that everybody else followed. And that's what I want you to take from this. I want you to be the light, right? I mean, there are a lot of things that we could be upset about in this world. There are a lot of things that we can be upset about at work or discouraged about at work. But I want you to try to be the light. Can you do that for me today? Yes, great. So, what do you see in this picture? Has anybody ever seen this? So you have this whole team at work, and you're standing there, they're talking, they're planning, they're on a project, and they're not including you, right? This happens all the time. And they might not even know. I talk to leaders about this all the time. People tend to stick with people that look like them, that think like them, that act like them. Think about the last time you had someone over to your house that was of a different race or sexual orientation, like someone completely different from you. Whenever I ask an audience this, less than 10% of people raise their hands that have actually engaged in this. So what do we tend to do? We tend to look at the people that are like us. And we tend to experience a lot of this in the workplace. A lot of companies, I work with them and help them out with this because I think they have a great culture. And the first thing I do when a company says they have a great culture is I walk around and I see if I see this. And I see it all the time. I see it all the time. The people that are invited into these spaces look like the people in the back of the room, right, in the circle, okay? And you see this other person, she's invited, but she's not asked to participate, okay? And this happens so much to us and to women and underrepresented groups in the workplace. This is a big reason why people leave their jobs, right? And at a time when you need talent, you really can't have people leaving their jobs. Also, this creates a palpable emotional stress. And this stress is called emotional tax. And women really suffer from this, okay? And this emotional tax, if you go through this once, sometimes you can carry it around for your whole career. It's like this backpack. You put it on, you take it to every single job. And I work with a lot of women that experience this all the time. So one thing I want you to know is, even though I am presenting some of this information it's kind of discouraging, like I said, our time is now. Now is the time. We have this huge conference here in Poland, biggest women's conference in Eastern Europe, in Europe, period. There's a lot of people that are speaking out, speaking up, so our time is now. Say it with me, our time is now. Our time is now. Say it again, our time is now. Yes, say it like you believe it one more time. Our time is now. Yes, it is our time. And never believe that in your heart. It's true. I mean, I'm seeing 15-year-olds teach people coding. I mean, this is happening, okay? It's happening in front of our eyes. So let's step into it, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. I want you to think about your own challenges at work. And my 4-step process, this is how to break through as one of the few. Okay, I'm going to talk a little about the science behind success. So I was in a conversation about this yesterday. A lot of us do not understand the science behind success. Okay, we think we have this successful workplace, but we've never looked at the science. There's a ton of PhDs in here, a lot of smart people. Let's read the research before we try to make these big decisions about our organizational culture, right? We don't read research. We just like to come up with fancy terms. Okay, so we're going to talk about the science behind success. We're going to talk about building your tribe. We're going to talk about self-awareness. And then we're also going to talk about building trust with your team. Okay? So this first chart, so this is based on the Influencing book by Robert Cialdini. So on the left-hand side, so if you see this chart on the left-hand side, the red things, these are things that women, we really don't have control of in the workplace. Okay? These things are very hard to control. These 6 dots are the 6 ways to influence in the workplace. These are science-based methods. So let me explain the left-hand corner for you. So the left-hand corner, some of the things you can't control at work is the commitment that someone has to you when they first meet you, right? Because there's going to be some bias there. You also can't control whether or not someone likes you. Some people are going to love you. Some people are going to hate you the minute that you meet them. You cannot control that, okay? That's something that you just have to deal with. So you also cannot control the authority that you have over people, right? I was talking to someone last night at dinner, and she was saying there are no women managers in her workplace, okay? Women don't come in with authority, right? It takes us longer to get there, okay? So those are the things that when people come to me and they want to start a coaching relationship, they focus on those things. But those things are not things you can control. So I'm always telling them to focus on the things in the green and the yellow. Okay, reciprocation. You can influence the reciprocation. What's reciprocation? Well, that means doing things for people. The book Adam Grant wrote about givers and takers, give and take, it's a really good book, and I encourage you to read it, because it's all about reciprocation and giving, and how giving can help you get ahead. Okay? Scarcity is also something. Scarcity means that you have a resource or a skill that a lot of other people don't have, okay? If you have that, you automatically have more influence. So this is something that you should also be focusing on. The third thing is social proof. So social proof, we use it a lot on social media, and that's people basically leaving testimonials for you, speaking for you. You have control over that. But as women, we don't ask each other to do that. So one of the things I want you to do is if you loved something someone said today, or if you love something that you learned today, show that woman, give that woman some social proof, okay? Because she might not ask you to do that. And what that means is post about her, okay? Tell other people. Give her social proof so she can be more known as an expert in that area, okay? So that's where we're starting with. First, the science behind success. Another thing that scientifically we need to think about are goals versus habits. So I always talk about inside-out goal setting. And with goal setting, some of us have lists and lists of goals. Like we came here, we probably have a list of things we want to do after this conference. But instead of thinking about the goal itself, think about the habit that you're going to take to get there, or you're going to start to get there. So one big example I have is writing, right? Some of us want to be better at writing books, or someone might want to write a book. So instead of saying, I'm going to write a book this year, commit to building a habit of writing and writing a certain number of pages a day. A lot of times, you finish quicker, right? So again, this is the science behind success. The second thing is building your tribe, and it's great that you're all here, because that's where this all starts. I want to talk about these 3 roles. We talked a lot about mentorship, and we had the mentor walk yesterday, but there's actually a difference in these 3 roles, and you need all 3 of these to be successful. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. How many of you have run a race or have done something big like that, like a big accomplishment? Okay, so some of you have. So when you think about a big accomplishment, like running a race or doing something, so your sponsor, the sponsor is going to be the person that's your champion. They're going to find the best races for you, okay? They're going to make sure you get into those elite races. That's a sponsor. You don't have to do much work. This person's just going to always have your back, okay? Your mentor is going to tell you about their experiences with races, okay? They're going to be like, I've run this race. This is what happened to me. They're going to share their experience with you, Okay, so they probably won't lift you up because that's not their role. Their role is to share their experience with you. Your champion will lift you up. Your coach is going to be with you every step of the way, through the good and the bad, the ugly. They're going to keep you going. They're going to help you meet your goals. That's what your coach is. So you need all three of these. With women, I see a lot of mentors. I don't see a lot of coaches and sponsors. So if nothing else today, go back to your office, think about who could be your champion, and think about who could be your coach. Because you need all three. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck. Okay? Third thing, self-awareness. So there's so many things out there with self-awareness, and it's just asking people how you're doing. Okay, there's so many free tools out there. You could get feedback, but people don't do well with unstructured feedback. So what happens? Think about this. Think about the last time you asked someone, how did I do? Right? How are you going to answer that question? 90% of the time, they're going to say, good. You're going to say, okay. But that doesn't really tell you anything. So try to get structured feedback. If women have a hard time with saying, when someone compliments them, they say, thank you. Or they say, oh, actually, that was my team. You know, I'm so grateful for my team. Instead of that, say, what did you like about it? I thought it went well, too. What did you think? What stuck out to you? Try to get more feedback. Gain some self-awareness. Gain awareness into how other people see you. Because otherwise, you're just making assumptions. So part of this has to be about learning to ask powerful questions about yourself so you get the right feedback. There are so many women that go through their lives without getting the right feedback, okay? They've been told they're doing well for their entire career, they're lifted up, that manager leaves, and then their career derails because they don't really know where they're at, okay? They depended on this champion for so long. So again, self-awareness, make sure you're doing this as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about is building trust with your team. And with this, I will call it rogue resistance, okay? So a lot of times as women, if you work in an office with a lot of men and they don't really include you, you're going to get really skeptical, right? You're going to be like, ugh, I'm not going to tell you anything. You're not going to understand my life. Why would I talk to you? Well, this actually works to your disadvantage, right? You kind of want to be somewhere more on the right-hand side here, with the trusting piece, okay? And that also goes back to neuroscience. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But think about how much time do you commit to your team? How much do they trust you? How much do you trust them? Because they could probably see it. They could probably see right through you. Neuroscience is one of my favorite subjects. The chemicals on the right-hand side are social-focused chemicals, and I always talk about these chemicals because these are the ones that are most important in teamwork. So oxytocin, that's something that you're going to get a rush of when you compliment someone, okay? When you trust someone, when you hug someone, when you're giving love to someone, okay? When you're appreciating someone. You want to generate that oxytocin, okay? Oxytocin is also a chemical that I talk a lot about when I'm talking about inclusion, right? Including other people. If you can get that oxytocin and generate that, that's going to bring people together regardless, across boundaries, okay? Serotonin is the confidence molecule, and you get that confidence when you associate yourself with others' success, okay? That's where you get when you're trusting with your team. If you're able to associate yourself with them, then you're going to get that too. And those social focus chemicals, that's like your gas in the tank. That's what keeps you going. That's why do you think that positivity science got so big, right? It's because of those chemicals. Because when you're thinking positively and you're doing things positively, you're generating those all the time. So these are the 4 ways to break through as the only few. I want everybody to think right now of one thing that they could do differently when they go back to the office. And this is how to contact me. I encourage everybody to get in touch with me. My Instagram account had some issues, so it's not up right now, but connect with me on LinkedIn. And let's chat more, because I am committed to this effort, and so are you. And we can all do this, and that's why we're here. I thank Bianca for our amazing conference. And before we close out, I want everybody to say, our time is now. Our time is now, yes. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.